I was borrowing her laptop while mine was busy updating, just taking a quick glance at my emails when a simple pop-up message caught my eye. I miss you. Can't wait to see you again. My stomach dropped, and I felt the color drain from my face. That message was from Dr. Gary Coleman, a name I recognized, the man whose hand I'd shaken at one of the hospital events next to my wife when she introduced us. I tried to convince myself it was all a mistake, a miscommunication, or a cruel joke. But before I could even think it through, my fingers were tapping and clicking on the message, pulling up the full chat history. What I then discovered hit me like a freight train. Months and months of messages, inside jokes in which I was never included, intimate conversations and flirtatious banter that went far beyond harmless teasing. Every message, every lovingly shared memory, every photo, some innocent, some unmistakably provocative, spoke of a secret life built together. I could literally hear my heartbeat roaring in my ears as I scrolled through the undeniable proof of my worst nightmare. This wasn't a simple slip-up. It was deliberate. I forced myself to read every single word, to grasp the full weight of the betrayal. A casual note abruptly cut through the storm in my mind. Wish I could have stayed the night, but you know how it is. You look so good today. I could barely concentrate. Next time we'll have a weekend, just a somewhere nice. I felt sick. My throat closed up as I realized they'd been doing this for nearly a year. Even while I was fighting hard with her, holding her as she sobbed in my arms, saying she felt broken and that I was the only thing keeping her together. I clenched my fists, emotions swirling between betrayal, anger, and humiliation, and slowly closed the laptop. Gary Coleman, the seemingly friendly, too affable man I'd met and spoken with at those hospital events, had now become emblematic of my shattered trust. When my wife finally got home that night, I stood silently in our living room, the oppressive weight of everything I'd read bearing down on me. As she dropped her bag on the counter, she flashed a quick, exhausted smile. "Hey, you're home early," she said. I offered no smile in return. "We need to talk." The words hung in the air, and something in my tone made her pause, her hand hovering on the strap of her purse. After a slow, shaky breath, I demanded, "Why?" She blinked, confused. "Why what?" My jaw tightened. "Why him? Why this? Why would you do this?" I choked on the question, my voice hitching. "How could you do this to me?" For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flicker of guilt or regret in her eyes. But then she struck back, attacking instead of explaining. "I don't even know where to start with you," she snapped. "You act all shocked like you never noticed things were falling apart." I stood there, my insides unraveling. A bitter laugh escaped her. "You've been checked out for months, Charles. Maybe even longer. You hide behind your work and barely talk to me except about schedules or your doctor's appointments. And heaven forbid you ever show an ounce of feeling. Do you have any idea how lonely I've been?" I felt my head heat with indignation, yet I forced myself to remain composed. "Lonely? We were supposed to be in this together, gripped by hell, and instead you ran off to him." She crossed her arms defensively. "At least he was there for me." Her words stung. "Are you serious?" I managed, trying to station my disbelief. "I was by your side every time we got a negative test result. I promised we'd get through it all together, and meanwhile you slip away with him." Her face hardened. "Because you weren't enough, Charles." The words struck me like a cold slap. I opened my mouth and clamped it shut as my hands curled into fists. I'd imagined countless ways this confrontation might go. Maybe tears, maybe desperate pleas for forgiveness, maybe a confession of error. But this? Standing there blaming me for her year-long affair? I shook my head slowly. "So it's my fault?" Silence stretched between us like an endless canyon. Finally, I exhaled shakily. "I need some space." I gathered my keys and left. That was a week ago, and ever since I've been lodging at my friend Mark's place, trying to understand how everything unraveled. Our circle of friends is divided. Some insist that this is just a rough patch in our marriage and that I should try to work it out, while others say I'd be foolish to stick around. My parents advocate counseling, but her family has said nothing. I replay every moment in my mind. Was I oblivious to the warning signs? Was I so emotionally unavailable that she felt driven to seek comfort elsewhere? Or is she simply twisting everything to make me feel responsible for her choices? I'm lost, questioning what's real. Then yesterday she called and asked to meet. I almost ignored it, saving myself from another round of her warped logic by letting it go to voicemail. But curiosity eventually got the better of me. We were still legally married and no divorce papers had been filed yet. Possibly she wanted to discuss the terms of a separation. I agreed to meet her in a quiet cafe near the hospital. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting composed in a corner. I slid into the seat opposite her and demanded, "All right, what's this about?" After a deep breath and hands folded on the table, she said, "Gary needs a kidney." I blinked in disbelief. "What?" She continued matter-of-factly. "He has kidney disease. It's serious. His family isn't a match, and the waiting list is long." I stared at her, trying to connect the dots. "Okay, but where do I come in?" Her exasperated sigh practically filled the space between us. "You need to get tested, Charles." I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. "You're serious?" "Yes, of course I am," she insisted, leaning forward and dropping her voice to an urgent whisper. "Charles, he needs this, and you might be the only match that can save his life." I shook my head, struggling to think straight. "Do you realize how insane this sounds? You cheat for a year, and now you expect me to donate a kidney to the man you had an affair with?" Her expression turned cold. "After everything, it's the least you could do." I inhaled sharply. "Excuse me." She leaned back, arms crossed. "You were never perfect as a husband, Charles. You're partly responsible for our problems." I let out a humorless laugh. "Right, my fault. You were never emotionally available. You were so obsessed with fixing our infertility, you forgot about me," she shot back. I could feel my pulse pounding. "So because we struggled to have a baby, I deserve to have an affair? And now I'm supposed to help save Gary's life?" She sighed as if I was exhausting her patience. "He's a doctor, Charles. He saves lives. And you have 2 healthy kidneys already. You don't need to risk both." I sat there in shock. This was the woman who had been unfaithful for a year, now demanding I undergo major surgery to save her lover's life, and somehow insisting that I owe her the sacrifice. I felt completely dumbfounded. Then something inside snapped. I leaned in so only she could hear, my voice low and dripping with venom. "Since you love him so much, why don't you donate a kidney to him?" She recoiled like I'd suggested an absurd idea. "Or your dad," I continued, voice biting. "He's not exactly in prime health either. Or your mom. And your brother, he's young. He'll bounce back fast." Her mouth fell open. "Charles, that's—" I cut her off, my tone icy. "No, this is your mess. You fix it. Don't drag me into it, and don't expect my help." I pushed back my chair and stood up, firmly declaring I wouldn't donate a single part of me to keep that man alive. With that, I stormed out. Once outside, I called my sister. On the first ring, she answered. "Hey, what's up?" I repeated what had happened, a demand to donate a kidney to her affair partner. My voice still trembled with rage. There was a long silence, then she exploded. "Are you fucking serious?" She hesitated, took a sharp breath, and then shouted, "I'm getting in the car right now." "No," I said. "You're not coming. I'm not going there." After a heated exchange about morality and loyalty that ended with her threatening to tell my wife off in the cruelest way, I rubbed my face, exhausted. "I too have limits," I said. "I don't need a criminal record haunting my conscience." Reluctantly, my sister agreed to field any future texts from her, but the texts kept coming. "When are you getting your compatibility test done?" she demanded repeatedly. I ended up scheduling an appointment at the hospital, set for Tuesday at 3 p.m. "Don't be selfish, Charles. Go." She wasn't asking. She was ordering. Every time a thought of defiance crossed my mind, my therapist advised, "Document everything." So I saved every text, every email, every voicemail. I even started a journal, capturing every interaction, every outrageous comment. And for the first time in what seemed like forever, I began to see my marriage for what it truly was. It hurt beyond belief, yet strangely, I felt freed by the clarity. As for that hospital appointment, the part of me that wanted to flip off everyone in defiance warred with the wiser part that counseled silence. Ultimately, after long discussions with my therapist, friends, and family, I resolved to take decisive action. I met with a divorce attorney and had her draft the papers, documenting not just the affair and the messages, but also that outrageous kidney demand. My attorney couldn't believe the whole scenario and assured me I was making the right move. 2 days later, I sat on my couch, anxiously watching my phone light up with incessant messages, texts, emails, voicemails, each one a reminder of her heartlessness. "How can you let a man die over your bruised ego?" read one message. I massaged my temples, forcing my clenched hands to relax. My therapist's advice rang in my ears. Document, but do not engage. Still, the thought of someone dying over that absurd demand made my blood boil. Then another message came, from an unknown number that turned out to be Gary. His name hovered on my screen, my thumb poised to block him, but something compelled me to respond. I typed, "What do you want?" Almost instantly, 3 dots appeared as he wrote back, "I just want to talk, man to man." I let out a bitter laugh. Man to man? You had an entire year to act like one instead of sleeping with another man's wife. Against my better judgment, I called him. He answered on the first ring. "Charles, listen," I snapped. "You listen. I don't owe you a damn thing." There was a pause. "I know you're upset. Upset because I screwed your wife for a year and lied to your face every day. And now you expect me to take a kidney like some kind of consolation prize," he pleaded. I cut him off sharply. "Then maybe you should have made better choices, like not shacking up with another man's wife." After a moment of silence in a quiet, defeated tone, he murmured, "I love her." I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. "Then maybe she should give you a kidney," I said, voice hard as steel. "Charles," I hung up. I sat there holding my phone, chest heaving in uneven, ragged breaths as the barrage of messages continued. The very next day, her parents called. Her mother's voice dripped with disdain. "You're being childish," she scolded, as if I were squabbling over a toy instead of making a life-altering decision. I pinched the bridge of my nose and replied, "Let me get this straight. Your daughter cheats on me for a year, and now I'm the bad guy for not donating my kidney to the man she slept with. If that guy is so important, then you better go to the hospital and donate one of your kidneys. Prove your love rather than condemn me." Her sigh was long and exasperated. "People make mistakes, Charles." I almost laughed out loud. "Yeah, and I'm making mine by staying on this call." I hung up. It didn't take long. Friends, mutual friends, even colleagues began calling. Some asked why I wasn't letting someone die over this absurd demand. Suggestions that I should be the bigger person. I stared in disbelief. "Did you seriously just say that?" one friend asked over drinks, clearly uncomfortable. The conversation quickly turned to whether giving a kidney, a part of myself, was worth it as some twisted moral sacrifice. I told them all exactly how I felt. In the end, I did go for the compatibility test at the hospital, the very appointment she'd scheduled for me. But I wasn't there out of any sense of obligation. I donned extra care with my appearance that morning, determined to look my best on what was shaping up to be a life-changing day. At the hospital, I was met with an entourage. My wife, her parents, her sister, and even members of Dr. Gary Coleman's family were gathered, all anxiously waiting for the test results. My wife rushed up to me with visible relief, whispering, "I knew you'd do the right thing," as she squeezed my arm. Without saying another word, I handed her an envelope. In front of everyone, she tore it open. Confusion, shock, and rage erupted from her as she demanded, "What the hell is this?" I replied calmly, "It looks exactly like it says. I simply am not donating a kidney to the man you cheated on me with, and I'm not staying in a marriage with someone who would even ask that of me." Tears streamed down her face as she accused me of killing him. That's when Dr. Gary Coleman's mother approached, asking what was happening. In the ensuing chaos, my wife declared I was backing out, and the woman tried to guilt-trip me by saying her son saves lives every day. I looked her square in the eye and said, "Your son didn't seem concerned about saving my life when he was busy sleeping with my wife. Besides, who could be a better donor than a mother?" "She should get tested," my wife spat. "If not, you know what to do." And with that, I turned and walked out. In the parking lot, my wife followed me, tears blending into screams. "Charles, don't you dare walk away from me." I didn't stop. "You're a heartless bastard," she shrieked. "It's not just about us. This is about a man's life," she pleaded. I paused a split second, meeting her tear-streaked, furious eyes. "A man's life?" I whispered, almost incredulous. "You made your choice, and I made mine." Between choked sobs, she whispered, "You're better than this. You're not—" I got into my car, closed the door, and drove off, her fist pounding on the window with every mile. Since that fateful hospital showdown 3 days ago, my phone has not stopped buzzing. Calls, texts, voicemails from her parents, mutual friends. Some say I did the right thing. Others call me a monster. I ended up blocking most contacts and even changed my locks. For the first time in weeks, I can finally breathe. I'm now staying with my sister for a few days, a safe haven amidst the chaos. Then the messages started coming from unexpected places. A coworker from the hospital texted, "Hey Charles, I'm sorry. I work on your wife's floor, and we all suspected something was off between her and Dr. Coleman. You deserve better." Another, a nurse who barely knew me, wrote, "I should have spoken up long ago. You seem like one of the good ones." Message after message poured in, from people I'd met briefly, from friends in our social circle, confirming that something was very, very wrong with the way I was being gaslit into feeling paranoid and overreacting. For so long, I had been made to believe I was the problem, but now the truth burst through the lies. I exhaled slowly and felt a wave of relief. Therapy opened my eyes. I thought I knew about manipulation, gaslighting, emotional abuse, but I was blinded by forced smiles and whispered betrayals. Looking back, I see the patterns now, how I was conditioned to doubt my every instinct, how I succumbed to guilt despite knowing I wasn't at fault. I'm not mourning the end of our marriage, I'm grieving the time I lost. The divorce proceedings will take time, but my attorney assures me I'm in a strong position. At this point, I'm completely over the trifling arguments about money and possessions. I just want out. And as for Dr. Gary Coleman, I heard he's still searching for a donor. That's on him now. It's been 6 months since that disastrous hospital day. The divorce is final. It happened faster than I expected, likely because my ex realized how devastating the kidney debacle would look in court. We split assets evenly. I kept the house by buying out her share, and she took what she could from the furniture, which, to be honest, leaves the place feeling emptier than ever. My buddy Greg even joked, "Man, this place looks lonely. You need some good single-guy furniture now." And I couldn't help but grin. I just wanted a fresh start. No remnants of a failed marriage. Word spread quickly about the entire situation. At the hospital, her reputation melted away as everyone learned that demanding your spouse donate an organ to your affair partner crosses an unforgivable line. Even some of the nurses who once sided with her have since apologized. Oddly enough, her younger brother reached out to me. We met for coffee at a quiet cafe where, with nervous eyes and a cautious voice, he said, "I just wanted you to know. I think what she did was really messed up." I appreciated his honesty. It meant a lot to hear that not everyone in the family saw me as the villain. Meanwhile, my ex tried to reconcile in every possible way. First with angry messages accusing me of ruining her life, then with tearful apologies for her mistake, and finally with a heartfelt handwritten letter claiming that therapy had helped her see her narcissism and that she wanted amends. I didn't respond to any of it. My therapist explained that she was cycling through strategies to regain control, and my silence only made her more desperate. Part of me even found some satisfaction in not engaging. I've been doing better than I could have dreamed. Therapy has cleared the fog and helped me reclaim parts of myself I thought were lost forever. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during the marriage. I met up with Mark and Jason last weekend. They welcomed me back like I'd returned from the dead. "Man, you literally disappeared on us," Mark said, shaking his head. Jason added, "Every time we invited you out, you'd always say, 'Sorry, can't make it.'" We all laughed over old times and slowly began to fill the void with genuine conversation and shared drinks. I even ventured back into hobbies I had set aside, like basketball. My first game was rough. I couldn't seem to shake the rust. But by the second week, things started clicking again. I picked up my old guitar and took lessons at a small downtown music shop with an instructor named Ethan who warned, "Your fingers are going to hate you." Sure enough, by the end of the session, my fingertips were on fire, but I smiled because it was fun. And then there's Cooper, a goofy German shepherd I adopted from the local shelter, who wasn't even on my plan that day, but instantly stole my heart with his oversized ears and wagging tail. Dating feels like a distant thought at the moment. I've had a few offers, including one from a nurse at my ex's hospital, but I passed on that one, learning from past mistakes. One evening, while Mark and Jason ribbed me over drinks about the absurdity of it all, I realized I deserve better, and I'm not ready to risk my newfound peace. My therapist agrees that rebuilding trust in someone else starts with trusting yourself. One surprising turn in this journey was discovering how many other men have suffered similar betrayals, manipulation, and emotional abuse. I joined a support group and initially I just listened. The stories were raw and real, men who were gaslit into thinking they were the problem, who lost themselves until they couldn't recognize their own reflection. One night after a particularly heavy session, an older gentleman named Greg pulled me aside and said, "Ever thought about speaking up, sharing your story?" I frowned, not quite sure I even had the words. Greg chuckled. "Trust me, you have more to say than you know. Sometimes hearing someone who's been there offers more healing than any therapy session." I mulled it over, realizing that maybe my story, however painful, could help another out of a toxic cycle. And so I did. I began speaking at meetings, sharing the defining moment when I finally stood up for myself. And every time I was reminded that I deserve better. There are still hard days when I wonder if I could have done things differently, if I missed the red flags when I should have seen them. But those moments grow fewer and farther between. I now know that no one should stay with a partner who betrays you, who blames you for their choices, and then demands you sacrifice a part of yourself to fix their mistakes. My future remains uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I'm excited for what comes next. It's been 2 years since that infamous kidney debacle, and life has taken a new direction. I'm in a much better place, mentally, emotionally, and financially. The divorce is behind me, and I haven't had direct contact with my ex for over 18 months now. Mutual friends occasionally mention her name, but our lives have completely diverged. I sold the house last year, unable to cling to memories that only brought pain. My realtor Jenna joked about marketing it as the kidney house, and while I rolled my eyes, I knew it was time for a fresh start. I moved into a smaller downtown place with a yard for my new buddy Cooper, and even my career has embraced change. I left my longtime job when a startup offered me a position that promised more creativity, flexibility, and yes, even better pay. 2 years after that fateful incident, life isn't merely back on track. It's improved dramatically. Sometimes it's funny how ending a toxic relationship can empower you to make positive changes everywhere else. I waited a full year before venturing back into the dating scene and eventually crossed paths with Linda at an art show. She's a graphic designer, smart, independent, and above all, emotionally healthy. We took things slow. I was upfront about my divorce and that wild kidney saga, which she initially thought was one crazy joke. "You nearly donated a kidney to your ex's lover?" she asked, incredulous. "Yep, and at least I didn't actually do it," I replied with a wry laugh. Linda has been patient through my occasional trust issues and insecurities. And what sets our relationship apart is the meaningful communication. No manipulation, no guilt trips, just two adults navigating life. I still keep in touch with the men's support group. What began as a place to listen turned into a platform where I now help facilitate discussions, guiding guys from broken to healing. One evening, my ex's sister unexpectedly approached me at the grocery store and asked if I'd join her for coffee. Over warm cups in a cozy cafe, she apologized for how her family had treated me, admitting they too were misled by manipulative patterns. It felt good to hear. It reminded me that not everyone viewed me as the villain. I'm sharing my story here today on our channel in the hope that you, our listeners, might find some strength in knowing that you deserve better too. If you believe in reclaiming your life and standing up against emotional abuse, please subscribe, leave a comment, and like this video. Your support means the world, and it helps our community grow. Even now, I sometimes wonder about our struggle with infertility, what life would have been like if we'd had kids. But then I think about the chaos a divorce with children would have wrought. Linda and I talk about kids lightly. She's open to it, and I'm gradually learning it's okay not to rush into it. I've had moments where I questioned every decision, doubting my choices and even my ability to trust. But as I've rebuilt my sense of self, I realize that trusting again isn't foolish. It's essential for growth. Looking back, I see that the breakup, as dramatic and painful as it was, freed me from a lifetime of walking on eggshells and doubting my worth. I don't regret standing up for myself that day at the hospital. That defining moment sparked the positive changes that followed. Some days are still dark, and I occasionally wonder what could have been done differently. But the certainty now is that I value myself enough to never settle for betrayal and blame. 2 years after that chaotic day, my life is filled with newfound confidence and genuine excitement for the future. I've reconnected with old friends, rediscovered passions like basketball, guitar, and even adopted a dog who reminds me every day that joy can be found in unexpected places. My career is thriving in ways I never imagined, and I've started dating again, with someone who cherishes honest, clear communication. I still see reminders of that past in quiet moments, but I no longer let them define me. I'm embracing a future that's mine to create, a future where I am in control of my own happiness. I hope that by sharing my journey, you'll find the courage to face your own battles, no matter how daunting they seem. Remember, you deserve to be valued, loved, and respected. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, subscribe and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep these honest conversations alive. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, keep fighting, and always remember, you deserve better.